Hello and welcome to the Fit for Life podcast with your host, Alan Fitton. In this podcast, I will be covering fitness-related subjects and my experiences to do with nutrition, building muscle and weight loss, to name a few, and how, above all, to keep fit for life. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to episode 5 of my podcast, Fit for Life. Welcome. Hello. How have you been? How was the weekend? Are you well? Are you okay? You can't respond. This is rather embarrassing. So anyway, episode 5. This is going to be about today. I'm going to base this giving it the title, the obesity pandemic. And I want to talk about obesity, the reasons why we're in obesity pandemic, the reasons why we are. Going into nutrition, going into exercise. Let's move myself down a little bit here. There we go. And then also solutions and things that we should be doing more so to help us get out of the pandemic, to help us in the future. Probably going quite in depth, really. So yet again, thank you so much for the positivity from my previous podcast. I had like 130 downloads last month. Incredible. If you're one of those people, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it and humbled down the bottom of my heart. And I've had some awesome reviews on the podcast as well after asking you to from the previous one. So thank you. Just keep it coming. If you haven't already reviewed, drop a review on the podcasts on Spotify and on my YouTube channel. If you're on my YouTube channel, hello. Nice to meet you. And yeah, just out there and thank you again, once again. Very much humbled and appreciate the positive response. So on today's podcast, we are chatting about the obesity pandemic. I have some statistics here to share with you as well. So we are in obesity pandemic, and it tends to increase as the age demographics increase over time. So percentages, let's get the boring bits out of the way first, the digits, the numbers, the scientific statistics, bullshit. But so they say from ages 45 to 74, 3/4 of people tend to be overweight or obese. So from the age of 45 kind of upwards, 3/4 of the population tend to be overweight or obese, which is quite big if I'm honest. But I've got some statistics on the website here from the Gov website, and so it tends to be 16 to 24. 56% of people are deemed as being normal, a small percentage being underweight, and then overweight 24%, obese 13%. 25 to 34, this is when things start to increase dramatically. So 42% of people are deemed as being normal. The percentage of underweight has gotten smaller. I think it's actually a little bit bang out of order that they don't put a percentage on the underweight people. Actually, it could be there. I just haven't figured it out with a calculator. But they're not showing that on the Gov website, which I think is a bit rubbish because it's just fixating on people that are normal and overweight. But anyway, so as I said, 25 to 34, the normal percentage is 42. So it's gone from 56% down to 42%, people being normal weight. Overweight has increased from 24 to 35%. Obese from 13% to 23%. And then the age octave goes to 35 to 44. And again, the normal comes down to 34%. Overweight goes from 35 to 34, actually. So overweight seems pretty much the same. But obese goes from 23% to 30%. And then, obviously, the statistic that I shared at the beginning, from 45 to 54 years old, normal comes from 34% down to 27%. Overweight goes from 34% to 40%. And obese goes to from 30 to 33%. And then from 54 and above up to 75, the statistics stay pretty much the same. So there's quite a big jump really from 24 to 25 into the 30s. That's where kind of the big octave changes. And then obviously that progresses from 25 to 35 and goes further and gets worse in retrospect as we get older. More probably because as we get older, we get a bit more inactive, a bit more comfortable when we're in a relationship and thus forth, and moving a little less. So that's the boring bit out of the way. That's the percentages. But obviously, a lot of people struggle with weight loss and weight gain as we get older. And, there's different reasons as to the reason why this is, obviously. Nutritionally, to start off with, obviously, it all comes down to a person's education in retrospect. And there isn't enough done in the education sector. There isn't enough kind of jumped into, the amount we learn at school about nutrition, about how important it is to exercise, although we are forced to in school doing PE and thus forth. There isn't enough pressure on things put on us to say what we should be eating, and that should be used in school in retrospect because you can get school dinners, can't you? So why they're not using that as a education point within the lessons and converting that to then, this is what we should be eating, go into your canteen, this is an example of the food you should be eating day by day, and leading by example. It may be more costly, but on the grand scheme of things in the future, it's going to cost the government less, because therefore the fitter that our children are and the fitter they are as they grow up, the less strain that is on our national health care system, but we'll jump into that more so in the future. But anyway, nutritionally, the reasons why we are in obesity pandemic, our current crisis and the fact that, retail struggling, finances and the economy isn't exactly booming at the moment, and businesses are struggling. And the one thing that is kind of continuing to do well is takeouts and restaurants. That's one thing that isn't struggling in this industry, and because that's where a lot of people want to put the money into, socializing and eating out together. Takeouts, ready meals, chocolate, sugar, etc. And we don't live like we used to probably 15, 20 years ago. So I'm just going to wet my whistle. Last podcast, I did the entirety, didn't even have a sip of my coffee, and it was lukewarm AF. Was not a vibe. But yeah, as I was saying anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I focused on coffee. As I was saying, 15, 20 years ago, we used to eat treaty foods and takeouts more so in moderation. Now, for an awful lot of families, it's just seemed as normality. There's families out there that are ordering takeouts more than once a week. There's families out there that are eating out more than once a week. There's, because of the cost of chocolate and thus forth that has come down marginally over the years, it's more ready and open to having a cupboard full of chocolate at home, a treat cupboard, biscuits, and all these foods that were considered to be eating a treat if we ate our dinner. When I was younger, my parents would say to me, if you don't eat all your dinner, you're not getting a chocolate bar, you're not getting a treat afterwards, you're not getting dessert. I'm not a big dessert person anyway. Don't get me wrong, who doesn't like sweet stuff, right? But equally within that, I wouldn't get dessert if I hadn't eaten all my dinner. So things are more readily available more than ever now. There isn't anymore just one takeout or one or two takeouts in my town, where they're everywhere. There's literally a selection of I think even 30 or more takeouts that we have here. There's still pubs open. There's restaurants to eat out in. There's so many things readily available now that we can just get at the end of our fingertips. Got a Spa down the road. Next to that, I've got a small Tesco. Next to that, there's an Aldi. I've got a petrol station down the t'other way. That's open 24 hours. I can get like a chocolate bar or an energy drink, anything that I want at ridiculous o'clock in the morning. I can go on to a Just Eat app on my phone and get someone to go and get it for me and collect it and drop it off at my house. You can get food so darn easily now, as long as you got the pennies to chuck at it. And as I said, sadly, things like fruit and vegetables and the healthier stuff, and especially meat at the moment, I think supermarket prices has gone up exponentially anyway. And we're all feeling, the pinch of the wallet. And healthier foods are expensive at the moment, and you could be having the argument at the moment that it is cheaper to buy frozen ready meals and different stuff like that. The foods aren't probably so good for you because it's less cost effective on the pocket. So, what I'm trying to say here is that all the things that weren't that readily available 20 years ago is at the edge of our fingertips now. And because it's there, we buy it. It's cheap, it's readily available, and these things aren't seen as a treat anymore because we can just get it if and when we want. We can all afford to go and get a takeout more than once a week. We can afford to get chocolate and whatever we want. And we're not really living in a life of balance anymore. And that's why, 20 to 30 years ago, we were more so in balance. We ate at home more, we cooked more. Now we don't cook as often. It's more easy and convenient to get something on the go, something readily prepared, something easy, a takeout or something, and we're just getting fucking lazy. That's the be all and end all of it. Bigger kind of conversation topic than what I want to cover here, but for some unknown reason, which I don't really get, for us to progress in life and to us to, as humanity, evolve, it means that we need to get lazier. It means that things need to become easier to us. We don't need to cook anymore. We don't need to leave the house anymore. We don't need to do fuck all. I always compare us to that movie, Disney. Is it Disney or Pixar? Sorry, I'll upset some people with that. But WALL-E, you know, when those people in those chairs that hover, everything's at our fingertips, and everyone in the chairs are obese because they don't need to do anything anymore. For some reason, for us to progress in life, that's the way we need to be. We need to be doing less, apparently, for life to be better. We need to be getting lazier. I don't really understand. And it's our schooling systems that should be dictating to us and saying that it's not okay to be lazy. We should be doing things. But, you know, technology to make life easier. We've got light bulbs that lights can switch on and off with our phones. We don't need to get off our arse from the sofa anymore to turn the lights off or to turn the switch the TV off. Or what? You know, what is the future? We can have a chair downstairs that literally elevates us upstairs and slides us into our bed. Is that our future? It may be easier for us and it may be nice, but do we need it? This is the question we're going to be asking ourselves here. Do we need a light that we can touch on with our phone? Can we get off our arse and switch it off with our fingertips? Do we need someone to deliver the food to our house? Can we not walk down the road with the chibi to get it, to bring it back? You know, these are the life choices that you are given with day to day. And you have a choice, I think, is the biggest thing here. But I'm getting off topic, and it's very easy for me to get off topic. But anyway, so nutritionally, things are much easier for us to grasp that are not as healthy for us, and the things that we should be having in a balanced diet. And we've lost our way somewhere. We aren't eating these foods in balance anymore. We're over-consuming these sugary foods. We're over-consuming takeouts. We're over-consuming the foods that should be, you know, you look on the back of any packet, it will say to be eaten in a balanced diet. And the majority of people that are bigger are not eating the balanced diet because, you know, your body will reflect what you consume. And if we put weight on, yes, there's some people that have medical issues and genetic issues that will make it a little bit harder for them. But the body will show, you know, what you're doing, whether you're either not exercising enough, whether you're abusing and eating too much food. You know, your body's going to show it within weight gain or whatever. Or if you're not eating enough, the other side of the coin, your body's going to show it too. And it's down to you to obviously change and adapt that. And as I said, it's not all of our faults, you know, through schooling, etc. We should be educated more within these things. You know, these are the ways of life. I think, you know, schooling, there should be much more done there to educate us and give us more knowledge and power. But yeah, so nutritionally, we're not balanced anymore. And that's an issue. That's something that obviously needs to change in the future. Exercise, as what I've said, other things that I've just said. You know, that exercise, I don't mean just going to the gym and doing weight training. I know the past 2 podcasts have been about going to the gym or lifting weights and stuff and how much that benefits the body and us as a whole. But I'm talking about walking. Like, over COVID, I had quite a few clients, and, you know, I program everything for my online clients. I don't just give them a training plan. I don't just give them a nutrition plan and just say, crack on. I implement like daily tasks for them to be doing, like getting X amount of steps in, making sure they're looking after themselves, make sure they're taking mindful, looking after their mental health, sleeping enough, you know, I am a qualified life coach. So one of the big things I say for a lot of people is step counts, not only for obviously burning calories and moving more, but also to take, you know, time out the day for themselves. A mental switch off from the work, a half-hour walk. You know, over COVID, a lot of us were confined and locked indoors. I'm telling my clients to get out for a half-hour walk. 9 out of 10 of them each week would say to me, "My God, I love those walks, Alan." And majority of them are still doing that now, day to day, because they found that not only it got them moving and made them feel better from moving, but also gave them like mental clarity and headspace, and it allowed them to switch off from the world, whether they went on a walk and listened to a podcast or their favorite music or just listened to nothing and just switched off from life. It gave people mental clarity. And a lot of people aren't walking enough now because we have cars, we have scooters. As I said, we got things on our doorstep. I got stuff just down the road here, and even stuff down the road. Even myself, sometimes I sit here and it's easier for me to hop in the car and just run to Aldi or Tesco. When in actual fact, it's only a 5 or 10 minute walk down the road. So 9 times out of 10, give myself a kick up the arse. Say, Alan, get your fucking backpack on, get your trainers on, and fucking walk down and walk back. Stop being so lazy. And you know, yes, the easier thing is for me to hop in the car, but it's just laziness, and we shouldn't be advocating that to ourselves and to our families, and that is okay. We should be walking, we should be getting on a bike if and when we can. I know it's getting winter time now, but we should be focused on getting X amount of daily steps in a day, because that transfers into health and wellness for your later life. The more we move, the more like cardiovascular activity we do through walking, running, cycling, whatever it is, the longer we're going to live. Science shows that the more you do like 150 minutes activity a week in cardiovascular activity, then you're going to live longer. It's proven. So we should be doing that, whether that is, any of the things I mentioned before, going for a run, going for a walk, going for a cycle, no matter what it is. But getting that in week on week should be a priority for all of us. And we're not doing enough. And as I said, as we evolve as humanity and for technology, we just want to make our lives easier and just do less. Like, what's this? A phone. We're on our phones, scrolling TikTok, scrolling the gram, on our Facebook, sat on our arse at night, instead of, going to play badminton, instead of going to for a cycle, going to tennis with a friend, play five-a-side football, going for a walk. These are the things that we should be doing to look after ourselves, because exercise is freaking important. And, the less active we are, the less that has an impact on our kids and our children. Kids and children are now sat on phones. Kids and children are sat on the iPads, playing the laptop, playing games. The minute they get in school, when I was younger, you're getting from school, you'd be on your bike, go and meet your friends down the road, and you'd be going on for like 2 or 3 hours on your bikes every night, going for cycles. And, that's activity, that's exercise, that's movement. As I got older, obviously, as if you listen to my first podcast, I was a bigger person. I started to put weight on probably from the age of 11 to 12 because I didn't move an awful lot, as much what I should have been doing, eating the wrong things, etc. But I'm going to go more into that, specifically my feelings, how I felt through all of that and the effects, in another episode. But here, what we're talking about, exercise, we should be freaking moving. And it isn't okay that technology, makes life easier for us to be lazy. We're still given choices, although it is nice to have things that make our life easier. And, a lot of people are very busy. But we should still be prioritizing on the basics, on getting a walk in, doing a bit of movement, a bit of cardiovascular activity each week. And that will help you retain good health and to live a longer period of time, which is what we all want. We all want to have as much time on this earth as possible, end of the day. And that is one thing that is, dictated to us. And yes, from just being fit and healthy and lean and not putting weight on, etc., doesn't individually mean that you are going to live forever. But equally, by looking after ourselves and looking after how we eat and how we exercise and how we move will mean that you are doing what you can to live a long, prosperous life. You don't know what illness or ailment could come to you around the corner. But as long as you're doing everything you can that's in your power to look after yourself, so you do live a long, healthy life, then fucking terrific. That's what we should all be doing. So yes, with exercise, we should be moving more, we should be walking, we should be getting movement in, something that we enjoy doing, and that we can keep doing consistently. Not allowing technology and things to stop us from moving, relying on Just Eat, relying on sitting on our phones for hours, going on our tablets, just sat on our arses watching TV. Let's get active, let's get moving. The more we do that, the more it's going to obviously improve our lives. So we'll move into now solutions. So I think a big thing that should be done is more should be done in schools. Yes, in school we have like science and biology and some of the subjects covered briefly, but not enough is done about it. As I said before, school dinners and such forth, we should be taught in our schools more so how to live a fit and healthy life, how we should be nutritionally fueling the body so we're fit and healthy, and how that can impact us in the future. More should be done about that. I know that my education was very limited on the subject, but like amongst anything else that we learn, how we fuel us affects on how we blossom and grow and how we develop as individuals and human beings. What we're putting here will depend on how you blossom and improve later in life. It's a big important thing. That's where life starts, from what we eat, and how we move and how we look after the body, because these are our vessels. So schools, more should be done to make us understand that. And that's a starting point for anyone, our kids, our children. If they learn the basics and that they need to know in school, then they're going to take the information home and branch it off to the rest of the family and the parents. But no, I want to be eating this, I want to have more fruit in my diet, I want to be eating lean source of protein, I want to be all this information that we could be absorbing, we're not being given. And that's from the get-go. and that impacts everything. My next one that I've got down here is NHS. Obviously, our National Health Service, the more that we are not fit and not healthy, the more that impacts our National Health Service. If we are bigger and overweight and obese, then that increases our chance of getting serious ailments, diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, all these things that impact us because of how we don't look after ourselves. Then that impacts our National Health Service, because we're going to be more prone to being in the hospital with more issues and disorders. The more that we look after ourselves and the fitter that we are, the less impact that has on our NHS. And now, life insurance and health insurance, I think, is amazing, because yes, it costs money, but there's a company called Vitality, right? And you can get an Apple Watch from them. And yes, you have to pay X amount a month, but they reward you. If you do like X amount of steps a day, if you do certain activity in the gym or anything like that, they reward you with cashback and stuff like that. Why can't we have something like that in our national healthcare system? How amazing would that be? How amazing would it be if our NHS gave a scheme to which you got yourself an Apple Watch and everyone had an account on like the NHS, whatever it may be, and you got rewarded. So if you did like 10k steps a day, you went to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, or did some type of exercise 2 or 3 times a week, you ate well, and you kept your BMI at a low rate, that there may be like the government gave you like £200 cash, the £200 like tax credits a year, because of you being fit, healthy, and looking after yourself, because of the less amount of money that would cost the NHS because you're looking after yourself. Why don't we have something like that integrated in our NHS? That would legitimately be a game changer and take so much pressure off the NHS, because it means that people will look after themselves more so. I know we should want to anyway, for our own health, for our own wellness, and so we can live a long time. But genuinely, for an awful lot of people, that ain't enough. Ignorance is bliss, right? But if the NHS and government put a system like that in play, which rewarded people to be fit and healthy, because it took lesser and pressure and strain off our NHS, so therefore they weren't overrun, and it's going to cost them much more money from getting people in there a lot more frequently with weight-related issues that have caused disease and such forth like that. They'll save them freaking millions if we could get something in place that rewarded us to be fitter, healthier, and put less of impact on the NHS. Wouldn't that be freaking amazing? I think that'd be, for me, that's a game changer. And that should be forwarded to the government to implement. Obviously, a lot easier for me to say here. I still haven't drank far enough of my coffee yet. But yeah, a system that rewarded us for being fit and healthy. We shouldn't need it, you're quite right. But as society deems, as I said, ignorance is bliss, and a lot of people just abuse the bodies and what they intake and what they eat and the lack of exercise. I think that it's going to be fine until we have that meeting with a doctor and they say your blood pressure is high, your cholesterol is high, you've got an issue, you got this, and it shouldn't have to get to that point. For some reason, after 20 minutes, my camera stops recording. I don't genuinely understand why. It is frustrating as hell. Anyway, if anyone knows how to stop that from happening, maybe I just need to look into the settings on my camera actually. Anyone knows how to stop that, please do let me know, comment down below. But anyway, yeah, as I was saying, something like that integrated into our NHS would be a game changer and incredible. We shouldn't be having to outsource an exterior company like Vitality or something like that to be doing that for us. Oh, it's an amazing thing that they're doing. They give awards, and I know countless people that are with them, and it's something that I'm thinking of doing myself, to be fair. I keep talking about it and not doing it, but regardless, that would give people that they kick up the arse, but for the majority of people, need to look after their fitness and health more. And yes, they should want to do it themselves, but as I said, ignorance is bliss, and people for some reason like to ignore being bigger, ignore the things they're putting in the mouth, the lack of exercise they do, until they get that serious meeting with a doctor and they say to you, you've got an issue here, something has to change. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could do a step change before it got to that point, before it got that serious, for us to improve, ourselves and stay fit and healthy for a long time? That's my style of coaching. I coach clients not for getting a transformation like majority of PTs do, like getting a 6 to 12 week transformation of going, oh, here's a before picture, here's an after picture. Yes, it's good to improve someone's fitness and health and to improve them and get them stronger, etc., etc. But knowledge is power, and I like to educate my clients on nutrition, on movement, doing enough, eating the right things, being consistent, and giving them the tools that they need to create the results, but then to sustain those results for the rest of their lives because of my own journey myself. And where I've come from, I know that when I was younger, I couldn't afford a personal trainer. I couldn't afford to go and spend £30 2 or 3 times a week with a PT. I couldn't do it. But if there's a service around that to which I offer with my online coaching, I'd have jumped into it both feet first, because the amount of knowledge and experience and wisdom I'm gaining from a service like that, I think would have woken me up much sooner. And the results that I created, on my own were good. As I spoke in my first ever episode about what I did, I changed my life. I made drastic changes, but it would have been even better if I'd had the guidance of someone that had the knowledge that I had at that point in my life. So yeah, I think we're going to pretty much wrap that up there. So obesity pandemic, we are in one. But as I said, ignorance isn't bliss, because end of the day, you can't ignore your health. You can't ignore the way you eat, and by putting weight on and just being, I'll be fine. And just, it's kind of like, it's almost like a level of self-sabotage, isn't it? Just ignoring your body fat, and when clothes are getting bigger and you feeling unfit and unhealthy. And the statistics I've shared with you here don't lie. This was done in 2022. And it's pretty scary. But there's definitely a benchmark from 24, and we hit up into 30s, then things get quite serious, and then it increases further in our 40s, and it stays there. And sadly, keeping a bigger body fat percentage as you get older does limit your time on this planet, and does mean that you're going to get cardiovascular disease, diabetes, heart disease, have a stroke, have a heart attack, and all these things will limit your time on this earth. And the one thing that is most precious of all on this planet is time. So if you've got a way of increasing the amount of time you have on this earth from some healthier habits and routines that you follow day by day in your life, then we should be fucking doing it, because we all want to live as long as we can. Life is precious. And yeah, so thank you for listening. This was podcast number 5, the obesity pandemic. Let me know your thoughts down below, if there's anything that you've enjoyed, anything that you think I've left off or that I can jump more into specifically. But again, thank you for listening. I do really, truly appreciate it. Again, let me know if there's any subjects you want me to cover in future podcasts. I do have an array of lists that I'm working through. I do want to get a few guests on here too. I've got some awesome people in mind that I want to hop on here with and have a good cheeky chat with, people that will be very motivating and inspirational to a lot of you. And yeah, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a great week ahead. Let's smash some goals. Let's be motivational. Let's be inspirational. Let's crush something this week. Again, as I said, for my online coaching that I spoke about previously, at Coach by Alan on Instagram, this podcast at the Fit for Life podcast on Instagram, on YouTube, on all of the other audio services for listening to this and above. And yeah, that's number 5 boxed out, and that is a wrap.